Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of All Things Taeler, slipping this in just under the wire for QnA Wednesday, right before Turkey Day. Woo woo! Gotta be your own hype crew, right? Okay, so last week I could not do a QnA Wednesday because I wasn't finding questions, and then magically my handy dandy notebook found a bunch of questions. Blues Clues. So let's get right down to it and have some wicked laughs, some really cool questions, some very difficult questions, and some like, why would you ask for that? So here we go. Someone on Twitter asked me if I have a favorite kind of cheese. The answer is, growing up, I was not very fond of cheese. Actually, like, I didn't like mac and cheese growing up, although I did like cheeseburgers. Like, I was very picky. Like, I didn't even like the chicken nuggets that had, like, the cheese in the middle. Yeah, I was so weird. But then as an adult, I'm like, yeah, cheese it up. Cheese pizza all the way. So that's a very complicated question. I like goat cheese. Especially like a garlic and herb goat cheese. I obviously like Parmesan if you're, eating some sort of like Italian meatball dish. I like doing like a cheese mix, like sprinkled on top of salad, and stuff like that. I'm not crazy though. I don't like grab a big roll of cheese and like I don't know. I'm just not that kind of person. But like every once in a while at like a holiday party, a cheese and cracker is okay. But am I like, oh my gosh, I need cheese? No, not me. That's like totally my sister. My sister loves like everything cheese. Like she loves Alfredos and mac and cheeses and all kinds of stuff. And me, I'm just like, meh. So there's that one. Okay, next one. Somebody asked me on YouTube, like, what was the worst bump I have ever taken? And guys, I've been wrestling almost half of my life now. So I started wrestling like as like a fresh-faced 17-year-old. And so I've taken a lot of gnarly bumps, especially when I was stupid. Stupid. This is a very complicated question. Because it's like, oh, the things I could say. Okay, but for real, I don't know what the single worst bump was, but I do know that one of the worst concussions I ever received was probably the worst timing ever. So, basically, I don't know why we thought we could pull this move off. And like, again, I was like, oh, this is going to be so cool. And it's going to make my opponent, I won't say her name, because, I'm not that kind of person to be throwing shade, even though people like to say that that's who I am. It's like really crazy. It's like, no, actually, that's probably who you are. It's definitely not who I am, but regardless. So I won't say her name, don't ask. But, so I was like, oh, if you have me in this and we maneuver it and transition into this and I take this bump, you are going to look so badass. I was like, you are literally going to look like She-Hulk. Like, like I'm always like trying to like put over my opponents and stuff. Like that's always kind of like how I was taught to wrestle, which is very funny because nowadays it's like everybody wants to get their own stuff in. And then when I have the opportunity to get my stuff in, I'm like, wait, what is my stuff? Like, what do I do? I used to drive Chelsea Green crazy because she'd be like, okay, we're good guys tonight. You do the comeback this time because you took the heat last time. And I'd be like, oh, okay. But what do I do? Like, what are my moves? Especially like at Ring of Honor, I wasn't allowed to like wrestle, like where everybody else got to do all kinds of crazy cool stuff. Like I always had agents that were like, no, you got to cheat to win, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. And I'm like, yeah, but they just did like 15 super kicks and a deadlifting some sort of suplex apron bump and like dives and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta pull the tights, 1 2 3, gang. But regardless, so I told my opponent she had me in a northern oh, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. It's such a funny story. So I'm in California and we have the crowd, we're in a tournament, and the tournament, our match is timed, and we have to hit this time cue for whatever the storyline was for that tournament going on. I remember like Nigel McGuinness was there, Daphne was there, a bunch of people were there. So I have her in a front chancery front face lock, right? And I'm like, how cool would it be if I have this and you transition it. And I'm basically, what will happen, guys, for anybody, I'm going to stop myself just in case, you know, you guys aren't necessarily familiar with the moves I'm referencing. So I have her like this, and her head is in here. And what's going to happen is I jump and I grapevine my legs around her waist and I wrench it. So I'm putting pressure for the hold, right? To make it more, you know, whatever. And I was like, it would be so cool if you muscled me all the way up and over into a Northern Lights bridging sort of suplex. Okay, so it sounds really cool, but for whatever reason, we did not have the proper momentum. It was like we wanted to defy physics, right? And so when she finally transitions it into the Northern Lights suplex and gives me the suplex, she dumped me straight, like this was, my nails are my head. This, my other hand is the mat. That is how my head landed. My head went, I'm lucky I'm not dead. I could have been like decapitated on the inside or broken neck or something. Blank after that. Just blank. Nothing. But I'm still wrestling. I have no memory of it. I don't remember finishing the match. We hit our time cue. No idea how we did that. No idea. I walked to the back on my own. No idea how I did that. The next thing I know, I'm in like the backstage area near where the kitchen was for that building, and Daphne's talking to me. That's my very next memory. I do not remember anything after the spot that we had, where she transitions my front face lock, where I have my legs grapevined around her, transitions it into a Northern Lights, picks me up and gives me another Northern Lights, and I was like a sack of potatoes on the second Northern Lights because I was just out. I was cold. Don't remember. Yeah, and so the next thing I remember is Daphne telling me, I was like, did I mess anything up? Did I mess it up? What happened? What happened? She's like, Taeler, you didn't mess it up. You guys didn't have enough momentum from that position to successfully, you know, execute that move. And what's crazy about this bump is that to this day I have not taken another Northern Lights suplex, because once you've been hurt really like quite badly, it's not a good idea to go for something like that again in the future, because subconsciously that hurt is still there, so it could accidentally like repeat itself, you know. That's why you should never do anything you're not comfortable with. But regardless, the reason why this was so bad was the next day I was flying to WWE to be an extra. I was a Rosebud. And this is what's crazy is, so that very next morning, so I couldn't sleep because I had a concussion, right? I got on a plane, which is one of the worst things you can do with a concussion. I'm texting gibberish to my trainer in Canada that I was training with at the time. I'm texting gibberish to my family. They have no idea what I'm saying. Like, the words are all misspelled, don't make sense. There's no like sentence syntax, nothing. Like, it's just gibberish in my text messages. And I fly to Pennsylvania to be an extra for the WWE, and then from there I try to sleep, but I can't because I have another early flight. I have to fly out of Pennsylvania with a concussion that very next morning. After that, I fly to Boston, pick up a rental car, drive to Connecticut, and halfway into my drive from Boston to Connecticut is when I got a call from one of the producers of Total Divas letting me know that the episode of Raw was just canceled because there was a huge snowstorm that hit the upper East Coast in New England. So that was that loop, guys. If you guys remember that episode of Raw where I was canceled, yeah, I was supposed to be there. I mean, I essentially was there, and I was concussed out of my mind. I had not slept in several days. I'm still gibberish. I have no idea how I was like driving safely or anything. And then I remember my mom messaging me, and she's like, turn around. And then so I drove another couple states over to family. And my mother said when she got up to my car in her driveway, I was like drooling up against like the window waiting for her to come home from work. And then we had 2 days off, and then they were going to do a live SmackDown to make up for the fact that they had to cancel Raw, and that was in Connecticut. So then I had to drive another couple states over back to Connecticut, do that SmackDown. William Regal wasn't there, so the extras did not get to have their pre-show matches, which was probably for the best because I was crazy concussed. And then I spent the night in Connecticut. Then I had to drive back to Boston, drop off my rental car, and then fly from Boston to Michigan, and then one day in Michigan, and then I had to be in Canada. So yeah, it was so bad. That was one of the worst concussions of my life. of my life. Long story, but that's just crazy that the next day I had to be at WWE, and like, I don't even know if I could tell you my hand from my elbow. It was that bad. That was, yeah, I've never taken another Northern Lights suplex after that. Nope. No. And it was probably for the best that Regal didn't make that loop, because I mean, being concussed as I was, I probably would not have had a very great performance. Another really gnarly thing that happened to me, I was wrestling a very well-known woman, and she's still very well-known today. She has a lot of success in very high-up places. And she snap mirrored me or something, so I'm sitting in the middle of the ring, right? I'm sitting up, my legs are in front of me, and she is behind me, and she kicks me square in the base of my neck. And this is one of the most creepy, gnarly, nasty, cringe-worthy things that has ever happened to me. When she kicked me, instead of kicking me in the back or even upper shoulders, which she kicked me in the base of my neck, where my neck meets my skull. And I can't describe to you what goes through your mind when you know something bad is happening to your body, but you are pretty much paralyzed and can't do anything about it. So I couldn't feel, as soon as I felt that kick to the base of my neck, the base of my skull, I was paralyzed from the waist down. It was insane. Like I was aware and simultaneously unaware at the same time. It was so scary. So I couldn't move. And like, I'm like this, pretty much, like I can't feel the lower half of my body. So like if it's moving, I can't tell. And there was like this like flashing of light, like rainbow lights, and then just black in my eyes. I couldn't see. And then the next thing I realize is I feel my brain move. So like at the same time that I'm figuring out that I can't move my legs, is the same time that I feel my brain move. And basically what happened was, when she kicked me in my neck, she kicked me so hard that my brain moved and bashed against the front of my skull. And I can't even describe to you that feeling. That's why I was like, this is cringeworthy. And it hit so hard that I felt it ricochet off and hit the back of my skull. And then it kind of settled back in. And like, that was the thing I was describing, with the flashing lights and then just black. And this was happening at the same time that I couldn't feel my legs. And then what's crazy is she went and kicked me in the exact same spot again, right there, right there. That's why to this day, I never kick people up there from that snap mirror position. Never, 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 never. If you're a wrestler watching this, do not do that. Respect yourself and respect your opponent enough to do not do that. Because I highly doubt you are going to be taking care of your opponent for the rest of their lives if they get, you know, paralyzed or severely injured. And the thing is this woman actually did this to somebody that at that point in time was more successful and more known than me. They were both veterans of the business. So it's crazy, right? Crazy. But nevertheless, she kicked me in that same exact spot again, and the same thing happened all over again. Couldn't feel my legs, flashing lights until it went black, and then I felt my brain do the same thing. Boom, boom, and then settle. Some of the worst. Some of the worst. Let's see. Okay. So now that we talked a little bit about worst bumps, I know that took a while, but I have some crazy stories, guys. So ask more questions like that if you want some more crazy info, or, you know, wrestlers that are watching this, if you guys want some more tips, whatever. I don't discriminate. So someone asked me, they were asking me about tables for table matches. And they asked me on YouTube if I ever had a situation where the table wouldn't break. Yes, I do not remember where I was. But I remember them being, I think this was around the time, yeah, it was right before my gut check for TNA, right before, like probably like within like 2 months or so of me going to gut check on Spike TV. I was very tiny at the time, like too tiny for my height and to be like a wrestler, like it was gross. Like why I ever thought that being like 106, 107 pounds at my height was good. Ugh, no, just no, girl, please. Me and my opponent were both so tiny. The promoter was very concerned about whether or not the table would break, right? Because we were in a no DQ match for whatever storyline was going on that I can't remember for the life of me. And so what they did was they did something under the table to where like they pre-broke it without like showing that they, you know, pre-broke it or whatever. And so the match happens, whatever. I'm supposed to be going through the table because, you know, I'm nuts. I'm always like, I'll do it. And so I go through the table, but I don't go through the table. The table doesn't break. And it's like, you just see me go, like I hit it so hard that my body bounced back up and then landed back again. It was like thud, thud, and it didn't break. And I fell off of it. And later on in the match, like I just throw like a huge hissy fit because I'm the heel. And I just start whamming the table until it finally breaks. And then when I get a piece of the table, then I hit my opponent with it because I was just so mad that no matter what we did in that match, that table was like, nope, ain't gonna do it, no. Okay, favorite wrestlers. I don't know if I have any anymore, to be honest with you, but growing up, I loved to hate Chris Jericho. I remember seeing his debut in the WWF. I love Lisa Marie Varon, Victoria. I loved watching her. There's a lot of her influence mixed with Sherry Martel in my work, like paying homage, you know. I love Randy Savage. I absolutely love Macho Man. Let me see. I always liked Stone Cold, man. I don't know how you couldn't. Sensational Sherry Martel, love her. I really loved watching a lot of stuff with Velvet McIntyre, Princess Victoria, Leilani Kai, Wendy Richter, when she got a lot of good experience. I thought she did really well, you know, putting over Rockin' Robin and stuff. Yeah, that's a complicated question. I could go on. As far as like AAA and CMLL in Mexico, I'm a really big fan of Lady Shani. I think she is immensely talented. Would love to work with her. Yeah, that's a question that could be its own video. So, like maybe ask like more specific. You know who you are on my YouTube channel. Okay, so someone asked me, they saw part of my match with Mandy Leon, our no DQ match at Ring of Honor in December of 2016. And they asked, after they saw a specific spot where I basically get, you know, backpack stunnered through a table. And they asked who got the worst of that bump. The answer is both of us, but for different reasons. Mandy, pretty much for whatever reason, got like all of the table. But the table, yeah, that sucks. But it was also on padding, where a good portion of my body landed on the floor. YOLO. Didn't even feel it. Didn't even feel it. Too much adrenaline, but I felt it later, let me tell you. I just thank my lucky stars, like I tucked my chin and stuff because, you know, obviously since I did that, you know, my skull is still intact. I like it where it is. I'm attached to it, you know. So yeah, I think we both got the worst of it, but for different reasons. You know, at least the table was on the pads, whereas a bunch of my stuff kind of didn't land on the pad. But then the rest of me landed in the table, so half and half, 50-50. But yeah, you did point out that it looked like I got a lot of the floor. Totally did. Totally did. Bingo. Okay. Someone asked me a while back and I somehow missed it. They asked, you know, when I'm alone and nobody can see me, like, what kind of Disney songs do I sing? And they were like, yeah, this is a real question. Funny story about that. There are a lot of quotes from Disney songs and Disney movies in my wrestling notebook. And when I was trying to originally get into Ring of Honor, back when, you know, gosh, they had so many people. Jim Cornette was in charge of Ring of Honor at that time of like the booking, I think, and stuff. And they had Austin Aries, they had Tyler Black, who's obviously now Seth Rollins. They had Kevin Owens there as Kevin Steen. Sami Zayn was still there as, I believe, El Generico. So that was like a really like big locker room at that time, and I was breaking into that at that time. And oh yeah, Roddy was there, Roderick Strong too. He was there. A lot of people were in that locker room at that time. And so when I was coming in, I was doing the tryout camps that they ran at that time. I did a lot of tryout camps with Ring of Honor, Jim Cornette, Kevin Kelly, Les Thatcher, J.J. Dillon, Killer Kowalski. I did tons of seminars to try to learn a bunch of stuff. And one of the promos that helped me get an extra match, a pre-show match at Ring of Honor, was a promo I cut for Kevin Kelly. And in it, I had quotes from the song I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan. Because, you know, I had this up-and-coming Goonies Never Say Die, modern pop culture hippie character. And so, yeah, I I had quotes from that Disney song and the Hercules song, I Can Go the Distance. I had quotes from that in my promo, and that actually got me a tryout match. Fun story. But I love Disney. I like to joke, since I'm a Gemini, I like to joke that I'm like a Disney princess and a Disney villain all in one. So I love Disney. So I sing all the songs. Growing up, I had like the cassette tapes with like the Disney songs, where they had one cassette tape was like the best friends songs that, you know, you had from Hercules and from Fox and the Hound and stuff like that, and Dumbo. And then I had like the Heroes song cassette tapes and stuff like that. So that was a fun question. I sing Disney stuff all the time. Don't even get me started. You guys will hate me. Somebody asked me if I would ever consider starting an OnlyFans or Patreon. They thought I would make a lot of money. I know I would probably make dope money, not dope money, but like a lot of money. Let me clarify. Lord only knows what people would do with that. But, you know, I'm just not interested. That's not something I want to do. I'm not really into that stuff. So, but thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate it. Do I like 80s rock and roll music? Yeah. Dokken, Danzig, gosh, Duran Duran. I love so much music, guys. I'm more into the 70s than the 80s, but I do love me some 80s music. I mean, hair bands, come on. Twisted Sister, get out of here. Love 80s rock and roll. I mean, come on. Motley Crue, Quiet Riot. Oh, gosh, there's so many. Just so many. Don't even get me started. Like, whenever I picture that kind of stuff, I always picture like the really old, cool, gritty Hot Topic when they had like all the band shirts. I remember buying The Clash t-shirt in high school there, and I just thought it was so badass. But I had like a Ramones, and I had Skillet and Slayer. Oh, gosh. Taeler Hendrix, everybody.